When I first saw you, the world seemed to hush itself, as if even the wind dared not speak, while my heart tried to learn your name. I had lived among marble halls and gilded mirrors, surrounded by ceremony and the careful rhythm of duty, yet I had never felt the pulse of life until your eyes met mine. They carried warmth, not the kind born from sunlight, but from the secret fire that lives beneath gentleness. I remember thinking how fragile the air became between us, how impossible it was to breathe without wanting to inhale every word you hadn't yet spoken. In that moment, I knew what it meant to belong, not to a crown, not to a people, but to a soul. You smiled, and the sound of my heartbeat replaced the music of the court. I could not look away. You were everything that no title could name, everything my lineage could never forbid. And though the world would one day call me princess, I would always remember that before anything else, I was simply yours. Each dawn that followed became a secret letter written across the sky in shades of gold. I would wake before the attendants came, before the corridors filled with whispered plans, only to watch the light trace its way across the balcony where I first saw you standing in memory. I imagined your breath mingling with the morning air, your voice threading through the silence like the softest silk. You were far, yet I could feel you as though distance were merely a rumor. I began to understand how love turns time into something elastic, how seconds could stretch into eternity when I thought of you, and how hours collapsed into a heartbeat when your name crossed my lips. They told me that princesses must learn patience, that hearts of those born to reign must move with restraint. But how could I restrain what was born not of command, but of the wildest freedom? Every sunrise was a reminder that you existed somewhere under the same light, and that was enough to keep my soul steady. You became my quiet rebellion, in rooms perfumed with power and expectation. I found solace in imagining your laughter, your unguarded eyes. They would speak of alliances, treaties, and futures carved from logic, but I would drift toward dreams stitched with your presence. Sometimes I feared that my heart betrayed me, that someone might notice the flush in my cheeks when your memory brushed against my thoughts. Yet even fear felt beautiful when it came wrapped in the possibility of you. I wanted to tell you that I was not the figure carved in portraits, that beneath the silk and protocol there lived a girl who believed in something purer than inheritance. You made me believe in things unseen, like the way oceans answer the call of the moon without ever meeting it, or how a single whisper can change the course of a life. You were the whisper, you were the reason I learned that silence could hold entire symphonies. When letters came bearing royal seals, I pretended they were from you. I would trace the wax with my thumb and imagine your handwriting beneath it, the shape of your thoughts curling into words meant only for me. Each night I prayed that love might travel through unseen threads, that even if you did not write, your heart would know mine was waiting. I imagined you beneath the same constellations, perhaps whispering the same wishes into the dark. There were times when I wanted to trade my crown for a moment beside you, to leave behind the velvet, the vows, and the endless eyes watching for perfection. But then I realized love does not demand escape. It transforms captivity into sanctuary. You became that sanctuary. Even surrounded by marble walls, I felt the wind of your freedom brushing against my soul. You taught me that being bound by duty could never chain the heart that knows its truth. I think of the first time your hand brushed mine, a fleeting contact that burned with the force of eternity. It was accidental, innocent, perhaps, but it left an imprint no crown jewel could outshine. My pulse betrayed me then. It danced in my wrist like music, without permission. I wanted to hold that moment, to stretch it across every lonely hour that followed. If anyone had seen me, they would have thought me foolish, smiling into emptiness, but I was full, overflowing with the secret of us. I remember how your fingers trembled slightly, as though you too were startled by the depth of something that had no name. I have attended countless ceremonies, smiled for countless cameras, but none of them captured the truth that lived in that brief touch. You were the reality beneath the fiction of my royal life, the one place where my existence was not performance but prayer. Seasons changed, as they always do, but each brought you back to me, in disguise. The scent of rain reminded me of your laughter. The crisp air of autumn felt like your breath near my ear. I would walk through the palace gardens, pretending you were beside me, listening to the world through my silence. The roses bowed in the evening breeze, and I envied them for their freedom to bloom without consequence. Love, I realized, was both blessing and burden, a crown heavier than gold, yet softer than the petals that carried our memory. Sometimes I wondered if the heavens had placed you in my path not to stay, but to awaken something eternal within me. Still, I could not let go. Even the stars seemed to understand. They blinked in conspiratorial rhythm, carrying your name across their endless span. In every reflection, I saw the woman you made me become. Before you, I was a shadow of expectation, shaped by tradition and softened by duty. After you, I was fire and calm, grace and defiance woven into something new. You made me understand that love is not submission, but strength, the kind that smiles even when the world demands restraint. I learned to speak softer, but think louder. To walk with dignity, but feel without boundaries. You gave me courage disguised as tenderness, a weapon that needed no armor. Whenever I stood before the people, their eyes upon me, I carried you within my posture, within the calm certainty that love, true love, requires no proclamation. It simply exists, steady and infinite, like the tide beneath the moonlight. Sometimes I imagine our future in stolen fragments, a cottage by the sea, the hum of your voice, weaving through morning light, the gentle touch of ordinary days that royalty can never promise. In that dream, my name is just a name, not a title. I bake bread that burns slightly at the edges, and you laugh as though imperfection is sacred. We walk barefoot on grass, unguarded, unannounced. I tell you that I have never felt more royal than in the simplicity of your presence. And though it may never come to pass, that vision lives within me like scripture. Perhaps heaven writes love stories, not for fulfillment, but for faith. For the belief that even the unattainable can still be profoundly real. You, my impossible dream, are my truth nonetheless. There were nights when I cried quietly, not from sorrow, but from the sheer weight of feeling. To love you was to live in two worlds, one seen, one secret. Yet, I found beauty in that duality. I would sit by the window, my tears reflecting candlelight, thinking how every drop carried a piece of you. They glistened not as symbols of pain, but devotion, a language older than words. If I could have sent them to you, I would have. I wished you could have known how each heartbeat pronounced your name in silence, how every breath felt like a promise I could never break. The world might never understand, but I needed no audience. Love, after all, is not meant for spectacle. It thrives in secrecy, in the quiet corridors of longing where two souls meet unseen. Time, cruel yet kind, has softened the ache, but not erased it. I have learned to carry you with gentleness, to let memory be a friend rather than a wound. There are days when duty consumes me, when I must be every inch the princess they expect. But even then, you are there, an invisible thread guiding me toward grace. I find myself speaking your name in prayers, not as plea, but gratitude. You have become my compass, my calm, the steady rhythm beneath the noise of crowns and kingdoms. When I look to the horizon, I no longer see distance. I see connection. For even if we never meet again, I know you dwell somewhere in the fabric of my being. You are the echo of my courage, the gentle answer to every doubt. And now, as I write these words, my confession to eternity, I understand what love truly means. It is not possession, nor perfection,